Hello and welcome to Comic Asylum. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Sean.
And today we are going to be talking about Teen Titans, a kid's game, the first trade paperback for the Jeff Johns run of Teen Titans. So, starting out, what did you think?
I've never read Teen Titans before. Again, I know I say this quite often in our podcast, but Teen Titans was always something that I thought was really stupid.
You say that so much.
The concept of having a bunch of 15-year-old kids running around fighting supervillains is just incredibly irresponsible. That is just so dumb. This book, however, I mean, for what it is, I still am, morally opposed to children beating up supervillains. It was a good book. It wasn't bad. I like the premise. I like the concept. I like the idea that, there's kid versions of all the main Justice League characters and stuff, and they get together and they fight crime and things like that. I think that's cool. So that's kind of my overall.
Your overall?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just, I love it whenever you say, I actually thought that would be really stupid, because every single time it's also followed up with, oh, but that was actually pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I
love that.
But okay, when you first hear about the Teen Titans, it's the same idea as when you hear about, the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Flash runs really fast. That's his superpower.
Admittedly, not the best tagline.
No. And with Teen Titans, it's a bunch of teenagers who get together who are basically kid counterparts of, again, the Justice League members who fight crime.
Yeah.
Who in the right mind will allow a fucking 15-year-old to go fight Deathstroke? That's fucking insane.
Clearly you haven't seen the DC universe.
Wow, that's again, like Jesse said, yes, I actually did enjoy this. Mm-hmm. It's actually a pretty good read. I like the characters too. The characters are actually really interesting.
Yeah, I love all these characters. I've been into Teen Titans for quite a while. It was one of my first real comic loves. Of course, I was introduced through the animated series, which was amazing. I had a friend throughout high school that collected the Teen Titans comics in single issue. So I read a lot of them through him, and even before I really started buying my own comics and building up my own collection, it was a comic that I always paid a lot of attention to. I've always loved the Teen Titans side of the DC universe more than the Justice League. I find that the characters are more interesting and well-rounded in a team book. I mean, a lot of the Justice League characters on their own are great, but I mean, when you get them together, it's kind of just let's go punch Darkseid again. I find that the drama in a Teen Titans book is better.
That's because they're all fucking hormonal
well,
teens,
that's the
man.
thing. There's that room for growth. I mean, for the most part, you're not going to really see the Flash develop as a character in a Justice League book. That's going to happen in the Flash, right?
Yeah, no, I get that.
But, for Kid Flash, who's basically a side character, you have that room for him to actually, have big moments in a Teen Titans book.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, in that sense, it's always drawn me in a lot more. I've always also liked a lot of the Titans' original characters: Starfire, Cyborg, Raven, all of them. And yeah, I mean, I just think it's a great team. And so this book is basically the 2003 relaunch of the Teen Titans.
Is it a relaunch or a reboot?
It's a relaunch.
Okay.
All the Teen Titans history is still there. It references a lot of it in this book.
That's true, actually. You're right.
And I mean, the most famous Teen Titans run is in the 1980s with Marv Wolfman and George Perez. It's probably one of the best books DC has ever put out. And for a long time after, the Titans, as a franchise, kind of had a hard time recapturing that magic. There were Titans books out there, but it always just kind of felt like a rehash of the 80s team. There was another book called Young Justice at the time in the early 90s that featured a lot of the up-and-coming next generation sidekicks. The Tim Drake Robin as opposed to the original Dick Grayson Nightwing Robin. Superboy, Impulse. A lot of those characters that ended up being featured in this book. And this book kind of took those two teams, jammed them together, and created something entirely new.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, the premise of this story is you have your superheroes. I mean, it starts off with Superboy. He's bored at school. He decides,
Smallville.
Yeah, in Smallville.
Your favorite place in comics.
Yeah, I love Smallville. It's the coolest place ever.
And it was, I mean, this was done in 2003, so you definitely see, like, Smallville High looking pretty much exactly like the TV show.
The artwork definitely mimics what you're seeing in Smallville, like the TV show. And I think that's why I liked it, because up until, I guess, the last couple seasons of Smallville, fucking love that show.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I mean, I always like Superman stuff. You know, New Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark, fucking great. Unfortunately, DC doesn't do enough Superman stuff, but whatever. Well, I guess they have all those awesome super movies, but that's a different story.
You mean in terms of TV shows and stuff like that? Well, I mean, they've definitely done a fair share of them. But I mean, currently it's kind of unfortunate that they're trying to keep them away from the TV market. So we start with Superboy, Connor Kent.
Skipping class. Like a true badass rebel.
And he's got quite the ego. He's Superman's clone. He sees himself as above what's going on.
Fucking teenagers.
Well, you know, at least he got rid of the leather jacket by this point in his career. And the earring. I think he had an earring.
I have no idea. What was the 90s?
It seems like a 90s thing to do. You might as well have had one. So we were introduced to him, and Superman's basically, you know, offering... he's extending the invitation for him to join the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And, you know, the team...
Well, he doesn't want to. He's really reluctant to. He's like, I already do enough stuff. This is boring. I don't want to do it.
Right. And last time this group of sidekicks got together, Donna Troy, the original Wonder Girl, died.
Yes.
So they've kind of split up and gone their own separate ways.
With understanding. I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to rehash that kind of thing either.
And we kind of see all the Titans kind of in their corner of the DC universe. We see Robin with Batman. And Batman's kind of saying, look, man, like, you need friends. Don't be like me.
The new Wonder Girl.
Yeah, the new Wonder Girl. Bart Allen. Barry Allen's grandson from the future. Impulse. Great character. You see, he's able to do what no other speedster can. And read at super speed and retain all the information.
Yeah. I think he is actually, and I'll get more into this later, I think he's the best character in it, because I think you actually, in this specific book, you actually see him develop the most as a character. Because, so you have Superboy, Superman's like, hey, I want you to go join, the Justice League, or not the Justice League, the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Go do that. And he's like, nah. Wonder Girl's like, I got nothing else to do. I'm not going to let my mom know.
Well, Wonder Girl's basically can't, get enrolled in a school because her identity's gone public and no one wants to accept her.
So she's feeling left out. She's kind of feeling like a loner. The Flash is actually having a conversation.
With the Flash?
With the Flash.
Jay Garrick and Wally West, respectively.
And they're discussing Bart Allen. And the Flash is like, I don't really think he's going to be the Flash. He's way too impulsive.
Yeah.
Hence the name Impulse.
Well, Bart Allen, just to give you a little bit of background, basically he grew up in virtual reality because he had an accelerated age rate, basically.
The future.
So he was put into virtual reality so that his mind could basically develop at a normal rate. And because of that, he ended up taken back to the past, and Wally helped him fix his age thing. But as a result of growing up in virtual reality, he has no sense of danger.
Oh yeah, he has
no sense of consequence.
He's aloof to it.
Yeah, and this is kind of where we really start seeing some development in terms of that with him. So you see all the kind of sidekicks in their own corner, and they eventually kind of all come together at Titan's Tower, and it's Starfire, Raven, or I guess Raven's not there. Beast Boy, you know what? Beast Boy had a really creepy scene when Wonder Girl showed up, where he was like kind of trying to hit on her. And it was weird because Wonder Girl's 16 and Beast Boy should be in his early 20s.
Yeah, he's definitely
and
one
he's
of the
like,
older,
show me to your room.
He's
and
one
it's
of the
like,
older characters in the Teen Titans.
And I mean, Beast Boy's always kind of been sort of sleazy, but it was just weird seeing him hit on a 16-year-old. I think when I was like 15 and I read it for the first time, it didn't really bug me. But now as an adult, it's like, that's weird,
you're
man.
a creep. You're a creep.
It was weird. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Cyborg brings them all back together to the Teen Titans Tower in San Francisco, and it's basically the idea is that they're going to spend their weekends there. They're gonna grow and they're gonna train and they're gonna kind of become friends, because it's hard for them to make friends. I mean, this is something that's tackled in Smallville specifically. But it's very hard for Clark growing up because of the secret, right? Mm-hmm. So you have these characters who are kind of isolationists. They're loners.
But they also have that friendship already built in where they know each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So the idea is to bring them back together so they can kind of, have an outlet, have people that they can relate to, they can be themselves with, and kind of bring them back into the fold. So as the story progresses,
you get some fun scenes of them hanging out at Titan's Tower. Superboy ends up, Robin gets an email from an anonymous source.
Which you find out at the end is, spoiler alert, Lex Luthor.
Yeah. You end up finding out that Superboy is actually not just a clone of Superman, but he is 50% Lex Luthor
Which
DNA.
Is awesome.
Created in this story. Something that, I think that they've pretty much run with almost every... I don't know if they did it with the New 52 version, because I could not read the New 52 Teen Titans, but... Yeah, I think that that's something that's kind of stuck with the character. And it also goes back to him at the beginning having that ego and being like, I'm Superman's clone. Like, I should be saving the world. Like, why am I here on this farm? Yeah. And...
You can definitely sense the Lex Luthor in him.
And this, sure. But it also shakes him up because Superboy, his self-image is his genetics.
Yeah, absolutely.
He defines himself by being Superman's clone.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So when Robin initially gets that email, I believe it's a DNA stream, if you will, that hasn't been processed or anything. It's just, and Robin's like, oh, well, why don't we run it? And Superboy's like, fuck that. No, I don't want to. And storms off. He has no intention of, trying to figure that out. It's because, like Jesse said, as far as he's concerned, he's Superman's clone. That's end of story. It's later on in the story you find out Robin actually went behind his back and screened it anyway, and finds out that yes, he is in fact half Lex Luthor. And this kind of creates this almost crisis for Superboy, where he's like, holy shit, if I'm like Lex Luthor, what's stopping me from ending up evil like Lex Luthor? Yeah. So that story in itself, going along this main story it was pretty critical. It's pretty crucial development of Superboy.
And I mean, there's even a cool line later on. There's another scene with Superman, and there's like a line where he's like, I wonder if Superman can see the Lex Luthor DNA with like his X-ray vision, and Superboy's getting all paranoid about it. And
yeah, so I mean, as the story's progressing, the whole thing, what happens is Deathstroke, who is, in my opinion, an overdone character. He's cool.
I like him,
but he's not like awesome in my opinion.
He's definitely one of the iconic Teen Titan villains.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you're gonna start off a Teen Titan run, he's definitely not a bad pick.
No, and I would agree with that. The whole thing is he wants the Teen Titans to not reform because his whole thing is it's too dangerous for them because his son Jericho was killed as a result of being a Titan. Yeah. So his whole thing is he wants to demonstrate to these kids that this is no kid's game. This is not a kid's game. This is you can't do this.
Basically, your problem with the idea of teenage superheroes actually.
As the story progresses, you get some pretty cool fight scenes and stuff with Deathstroke. But as it progresses,
well, basically, like Deathstroke shoots Impulse in the knee.
Yeah. Busts his knee
and he needs to have it fixed so that it heals properly, but he's also healing at an accelerated rate, and they can't use anesthesia on him or like anything.
It'll just wear right off.
Yeah. So Impulse, after this, kind of disappears from the hospital, goes to the San Francisco Public Library and reads every book in the library as a means of
finding a way to.
Yeah, making himself smarter and better.
That's because he's always dismissed as being dumb and impulsive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, Wally West did not want him to go back to the Titans. He didn't want him there because he doesn't think he's capable of being the Flash.
The character of Bart Allen, up until this point, recently right before this series, has been through quite a bit. At the end of the Impulse series, Max Mercury is killed. I mean, he sort of has his body stolen. He's killed. He's dead. There's a situation where Bart, one of his special powers that's unique to him is he's able to create speed scouts. So he can create like super speed, like different versions of himself.
So almost kind of like the idea of the time remnant kind of thing.
That actually reminded me a lot of the scouts. So what happens though is one of them dies, and when it dies, he feels it. So he actually experiences what it's like to. And so a lot of these things kind of have been happening to him lately. The thing with Donna Troy dying, he was involved in that. So basically, he reads every book in the library, comes out, and now he's Kid Flash.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not like this development because they thought he should have stayed at Impulse. I really did. For me, it was a natural progression of the character. You know, whether or not he was ever meant to become the Flash down the line is one thing, but to me, this was Impulse's version of saying, I'm taking things seriously now.
Well, and you know, it feeds into the whole legacy character concept of the Flash, particularly because the whole concept is the Flash is a legacy. It's, you know, you have Jake Garrick, Barry Allen, Wally West. So yes, the natural progression would be Bart Allen would end up taking the reins of the Flash. Mm-hmm. He would move into the Kid Flash position, and then he would, when Wally West eventually, you know, bit the dust, he would turn into the Flash, and then he would take on a protege, and it would go like that. So yeah, I don't know why anyone would be mad about that.
I think it was because, like, part of it is Mark Waid, the creator of the character, who, you know, I totally love. Basically said that he had no intention of actually turning Impulse into the Flash.
Well, his comic run as Bart Allen, it's very short, isn't it? He's a short-lived
Bart Allen.
Yeah,
he had a pretty successful solo comic that ran for nearly 100 issues.
Oh, okay. I thought he was around for only like 20 or something.
He was pretty successful. He had a lot of hype around his character.
So again, to me that just makes sense that he would become Kid Flash.
I agree. And you know what? Even if it was something where it wasn't necessarily a permanent thing, it made sense in, you know, symbolically that now Bart Allen is, you know, he's evolving a little bit more. Now he kind of, you know, has a concept of danger. Now he's going to try and be a little bit more careful and a little bit smarter. He won't always succeed, but he
understands consequence now. He's gained a further understanding of consequence. The other thing too, that when he does the super reading like that, it's to prove a point that he's not dumb and dopey. Mm-hmm. You know, he's capable, and that's why he announces himself as Kid Flash, because he's capable of being what Wally West said he's not.
That's a good point.
I like that. Yeah, that's the whole premise, right? Like, it's a fuck you. I can do this. You just have to give me a chance. Mm-hmm. And that's the point with the Teen Titans, right? Like and this is when you get into a little bit further, which my favorite part, which I'll get onto in a minute. The whole thing is about trying to get these kids ramped up to be the next generation of heroes, right? Mm-hmm. Their mentors are, you know, the top officials in the Justice League. So the part I like the best in this whole book, and it goes along with, you know, this premise of this is not a kid's game, is when Wonder Woman shows up.
Okay, and we'll get there. I want to stay a little bit more on the Deathstroke part right now, but we will get there.
So that's my favorite part, hands down.
The Justice League thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
So more Deathstroke. Let's talk Deathstroke.
So Deathstroke.
Turns out he's actually been possessed by Jericho.
Yeah, because Jericho's power was he was a body jumper.
And then he jumps everyone's body at one point.
Yeah, and then Kid Flash shows up and starts kicking his ass. I love that scene. They actually, at first, when Deathstroke shows up and Bart gets shot, Starfire tries to kind of lock them away in Titan's Tower and say, let the older Titans take care of this, right?
Yeah, let the experienced ones do this.
And to me, this is where the book starts really selling me on the idea of teenage heroes, basically. They're trying to prep them to be the next generation, but at the same time, they're kind of sticking the safety net under them and saying, you can't do this, you can't do this. And the teen characters are like, you know what, we chose to do this. We chose to become heroes. We're going to do it.
Yeah, but at the same time, just because you pick up a gun doesn't mean you're a soldier.
No.
I mean, there's a whole...
they are properly trained. Like, Tim Drake has been trained by Batman.
It's not that they haven't been trained. It's that they're still learning. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot to learn. I mean, it's not like you just become a superhero overnight.
Right.
There's a lot... Like, if you look at someone like Superman, Clark Kent growing up, all that kind of stuff in Smallville... The reason he is this beacon of light is because he was raised in a specific manner. These are the values that were instilled in him. He learned from experience, but not going above and beyond what he didn't understand about himself. It's part of that learning process, right?
But if you don't let these heroes actually go out and face threats, they're not going to learn.
It's not even that they shouldn't be facing threats, and I agree that, they make that ultimatum. The Titans come to an ultimatum and basically say, like, we're not going to do this unless you guys basically remove some of these restrictions and rules, because this is ridiculous. And I don't disagree to an extent, but the other thing that I kind of didn't like, I mean, and again, they're kind of just trying to get them back together. There's not a whole lot of training actually going on at the Titans Tower. It's just more like, let's hang out on the weekends because we can.
Yeah.
And we have no friends because we're loners.
I like that scene of Beast Boy and Impulse fighting over the remote.
That was hilarious.
That was good.
But that's what kids do, man.
Yeah.
Like old guys do that
Beast
too.
Boy's pretty much a kid.
Well,
I mean, he shouldn't be hitting on 16-year-olds, but,
But yeah, I mean, it's more of a hangout place than actually a training place. And that's why I could see why, like, when Deathstroke does show up, it is a little concerning because Deathstroke is not a villain to be taken lightly.
No.
He's a pretty badass motherfucking mercenary.
He is.
Like, that's more than most of them can handle. Superboy, okay, I could see. I mean, he's bulletproof and stuff. He's Superman and Lex Luthor combined, which is terrifying, but...
Oh, another thing that I want to bring up during this battle, Wonder Girl gets visited by Ares, the god of war.
Oh, yeah.
And she's given her version of the Wonder Woman lasso, which I think is way cooler. Instead of making people tell the truth, it electrocutes the fucking shit out of them.
That's fucking vicious.
Yeah, man. Given to you by the god of war.
Well,
who you end up finding out is actually her brother.
Wow.
Yeah, she's
it's funny because when Wonder Woman sees her with that fucking lasso, she's like, where the fuck did you get that?
Yeah.
What the hell? She's not thrilled about that. But again, yeah, no, and that's a pretty cool idea too. I mean, having similar, weapon or device, but acts in a different capacity. Mm-hmm. I mean, Wonder Woman, historically, I mean, that character was invented by the guy who invented the lie detector.
Right.
That's kind of where the whole notion of the lasso of truth comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's cool, but again, when you're fighting these supervillains, a lasso of truth is like...
And not only that, but Wonder Woman as a character, she's been portrayed in sometimes she's more vicious than others, but she's always sort of been portrayed as an ambassador of peace.
Well, that's the
truth lasso kind of goes along with that theme.
Yeah.
With a teenage Wonder Girl, she's dealing with all this crazy stuff. She can't get into school because she's been outed. She's figuring out all those things that normal teens have to figure out, but elevated. So
she's
to
got
me,
celebrity status to her now.
So to me, the electric, craziness of that kind of, it's a perfect.
Well, it's reflective, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good way of demonstrating that she's struggling with these, this issue of being famous and not being able to do a lot of stuff, and it's almost like the anger in the truth. And it's
exactly.
Like she throws it on you, and it's like, zzz, and you get zapped. It's like, screw you. Because she's angry.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it was a cool addition. I like the little change up with that. Mm-hmm. I like it when the sidekicks, because they're all the sidekicks, they're similar to their mentor, but they're
different enough.
Yeah, different enough. And that's again going back to Wally. That's like, or not Wally.
Bart Allen.
Bart Allen. His development in this is my favorite because he is dismissed as stupid and aloof. And he proves them wrong.
Bart Allen for a long time was my favorite comic book character.
There you go.
Yeah, I love him because I was kind of that like crazy ADD kid too.
Well, you still are.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the one other character that I'd like to touch on a little bit before we get into the second part of the story is Tim Drake, my personal favorite Robin. Tim Drake is a Robin that is more of a detective than the others.
Yeah.
Dick Grayson's an acrobat.
He's a gumshoe.
Jason Todd's a street kid. Damian Wayne's a ninja. Tim Drake is a detective.
He's just a smart kid.
He's just a cool dude.
He pieces puzzles together, and the whole thing with the DNA from Superboy. He goes behind his back and does it, but it's to solve the mystery, right? It's all about the mystery, and that's why I like.
There's something also about just the way Tim Drake is written and the way he carries himself that I'm like, I actually like that dude,
Yeah,
I like that kid.
He's more Batman-like, because Batman's supposed to be a detective, right? Like, that's the idea.
Yeah.
He's more like what the embodiment of Batman should be.
But without the brooding.
Well, exactly. Well, Batman's...
And Tim Drake also doesn't want to be Batman, which I like.
Yeah. That's exactly it. He wants to be himself. He wants to be his own person. He doesn't want to be Nightwing. He doesn't want to be, the Dick Grayson Robin. He wants to be himself. Mm-hmm. He wants to define who he is. And that's the big thing. This story has a lot of character development, which is great.
Yeah, and they even bring that up, him and Bart going on a talk after Bart becomes Kid Flash, and basically Tim says, like, if I read a bunch of books, that wouldn't make me Nightwing. And Bart's like, no, but you don't want to be.
Exactly.
And, Tim basically retorts with, okay, but you realize that this is going to put you in the Flash's shadow. And I love this line. Bart's like, no, he's going to be in mine.
Arrogant shit.
I love it.
Fucking teenagers. But yeah, I mean, this story is, if you like superheroes, this is a great, this is what they could have been like when they were kids. Yeah. And that's what I liked about it. And they defeat Deathstroke. They didn't kill him. He gets away. Jericho leaves his body.
Jericho ends up, Raven shows up. Because she gets resurrected by Brother Blood and his whole cult, to try and, I guess, summon Trigon. No, I think Trigon's gone by this point. But basically she gets resurrected and she ends up kind of showing up and appearing, and then Jericho tries to possess her and she leaves. And they're just kind of standing there being like, well, we just kind of got our asses kicked.
Yeah, which was kind of the point he was making. Yeah, you're not ready for this. And that's then, okay, now we're going to move into the Wonder Woman stuff, because this is my favorite part, and I'm going to talk about it now.
You look really excited. I love how excited you look to talk about Teen Titans.
So after this event happens, they go back to the Teen Titans Tower. Yeah. And they're all hanging out, sitting down. And the Justice League shows up.
Well, Wonder Girl and Superboy show up. Wonder Woman kind of,
So, okay, yeah, that was kind of mean. So what happens is Superboy and Wonder Girl are sitting, they're talking.
They've got a little thing going on.
They're about to kiss, and Wonder Woman shows up, fucking furious. Yeah. She did not want her showing up there. She did not want her to be a member of the Teen Titans. She was so mad. Yeah. She was pissed.
Well, because Donna Troy died.
Exactly. Because children shouldn't be fighting crime.
Donna Troy was an adult when she died.
Whatever. Wonder Girl now is a kid. Yeah. She already lost a sidekick. Yeah. So she shows up and she's not having it. She's like, we're leaving. Let's go. And then
Starfire basically just blasts her and is like, you know what? I was given away to slavery when I was a kid, and my family didn't stand up for me. I'm standing up for...
She has the right to make her own decisions. Yeah. She's her own person. And Wonder Woman's like, fuck that.
And they start fighting.
They brawl. And it is, that is my favorite part. Wonder Woman and Starfire just going at it. They're just pummeling the crap at each other. Then the rest of the Justice League comes flying on in, or in some cases running on in.
Yeah, everyone has a moment with their kind of respective. Superboy uses heat vision for the first time. Bart and Wally kind of have a moment.
And that's the thing. It kind of brings it all together. It really, cements this idea that, okay, yes, you're right. You do have the freedom to make your own decisions, but things need to be pretty regulated, because you will die. Mm-hmm. because children shouldn't be fighting crime.
But that's where kind of Nightwing shows up.
Well, Nightwing is the voice of reason,
and
right?
is like, you know what, Justice League, let them have their space.
Yeah, and the point, and he even says, like, the point is the Titans are supposed to be separate from the League.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to be one and the same. The League has no authority over the Titans.
Yeah.
They simply, work together, but they are separate entities. And yeah, Nightwing is the only voice of reason. And
Nightwing was one of the founders.
Yeah. So everything kind of settles down.
And he's even like, Wally, come on. Like, you used to hate when Aquaman used to show up, and Wally's like, yeah, I guess I forgot about that.
It's true, because that's the thing, you're an adult now, and you see this all the time in everyday life. Mm-hmm. Helicopter parents now versus parents back in the 60s. People in the 60s, parents for the most part, were a little more liberal. Their children, if they fell down, they didn't, cry, or
the
child
actually
cried.
go outside and play on your own.
Yeah, you could experience life.
Mm-hmm.
But now we live in a world where we're so terrified by fear. Something bad might happen. Any little thing that goes wrong, a child is catered to. It's the worst thing in the world. If you scratched your knee on the playground, you're not going to play on the playground again.
Yeah.
You have parents now who are, yes, helicopter parents. They hover over their children to prevent them from getting those real life experiences. And that's kind of what Nightwing's point is. Mm-hmm. Is that, like you said with Wally, when he made the comment about how you hated it when, you were told you couldn't do something, or when someone overstepped their authority and told us we weren't allowed to, go play outside.
Yeah.
You didn't like that. But now as an adult, you're not realizing, you're not remembering the fact that you hated that because you're acting like a helicopter parent.
And that's the thing. Like, so much of both of those characters, Nightwing and Wally, had so much progression because of the Teen Titans team. And because they were allowed to do that.
Yes. They were allowed to define themselves and be who they turned out to be.
That's how Nightwing happened, man. That didn't happen in a Batman book. They switched him over because the Teen Titans team was like, do you care if we just kind of take Robin? And the Batman editorial team was like, yeah, fuck Robin. And then they made Nightwing. And then Batman team was like, damn, we need a new Robin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's create a new one. But that's why, that's kind of the overall point of the story, is that, yes, this is dangerous. Kids probably shouldn't be doing this, but not only do they have the right to choose if they want to, but it will help them develop and, eventually ascend into their own people, their own form of superhero, and allow them to become members of the Justice League.
Yeah.
Right? They're the next generation.
Which, some of them have... Wally is a perfect example.
Absolutely. And overall, that's the story. My issue is I still think having a 15-year-old run around flying, shooting lasers out of his eyes or whatever the case... that's a little crazy.
Look. In real life, yeah. But
in comic book world, because that's just his excuse all the time.
Well, no, because also, like I said, I got into this team as a teenager.
Yeah.
So, you need that kind of appeal for your younger readers. That's why.
I get that.
That's why the whole sidekick movement of DC has done so well since Robin was first introduced.
Yeah, DC has a fuck ton of sidekicks.
Yeah.
And that's and
Robin was one of the first characters introduced in the DC universe. I'm pretty sure he predates Flash, Green Lantern, maybe even Wonder Woman. Robin came really early on. And sidekicks are a very vital part of that universe.
Well, they're the support staff, right? When you're going on a crazy dangerous mission, you have a sidekick. You have, an extra pair of eyes and ears. You have, in the case of some of these sidekicks, technological, prowess to what's going on. Maybe they have specific skills that the superhero themselves doesn't have.
Yeah.
So yes, they do play a vital support function.
And even beyond support, their legacy.
Well, that's the other thing, right? And that's, okay, so that comes down to the argument of, the namesake, the legacy. Mm-hmm. I get the point made by, the Flash, where I don't know if he's necessarily ready to be the Flash, but someone has to take on the Flash, because the Flash has been a legacy character. All he was is a legacy.
Yeah.
He's talking to Jake Garrick, who was the first Flash. The whole concept is the legacy. Superman, not so much the case. Superman also, I mean...
Superman and Batman are the two where it's pretty cemented that it will always be Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. But even Batman has, like, Nightwing and, you know... Like, I would almost say that Robin is the legacy aspect of Batman.
Well, yeah, he's supposed to be, right? Like, that's kind of the idea. The thing that always kind of bugs me about that is you have these sidekick kids, and now the one is a superhero, and you haven't aged at all.
Yeah.
And you're Batman. Come on. Come on.
He's taking a little dip in the Lazarus pit.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But no, I get it. It's a namesake thing. But again, at the same time, the adults should realize that it shouldn't be about namesake.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids don't necessarily, like in the case of the Robin in this.
Nightwing. Tim Drake.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want that. You know, he wants to define himself.
Yeah.
So, again, it shouldn't be about the legacy. It should be about simply teaching these children how to use their powers responsibly.
Yeah.
And for, you know, the justice and liberty and the American values and all that crazy shit that they all stand for.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I just think this is kind of reckless.
But you know what? That's also what I like about the book. These characters, they're young and inexperienced, and they make mistakes, and they do things that they shouldn't, and then they have to figure out how to fix it. You know, like there's a lot of character growth in Teen Titans.
Of course. There's a lot of character growth in Pokemon, and Ash Ketchum's mom should not allow a 10-year-old to go travel the freaking country.
I'm pretty sure that there's no character growth in Pokemon because he's still doing the exact same thing that he's always been doing.
He has like a sad moment with Charizard. That was pretty sad, and that was some character growth. He learns to let him go, even though that was his best fucking Pokemon, and that was stupid. But regardless, he's got to make mistakes because he's a 10-year-old who's been on the road for 5 years at this point.
Yep.
It's a little silly. But no, Teen Titans as a whole, like this book particularly, it's not that I didn't like it. I actually did enjoy it. It was really well done because I do like the character growth that you see in this. I just can't get over the base concept of having a group of fucking teenagers run around and beat the shit out of one of the strongest mercenaries that they've ever seen.
Well, it's kind of great. Like there's a cartoon, Young Justice, which it's pretty much a Teen Titans cartoon.
Yeah.
And in that, like, basically the first episode is about them forming the team and stuff and going off on their own. And then at the end, the Justice League is basically like, fine, but you're going to operate out of the League's old headquarters. There will be a League member there to train you. Black Canary shows up to do, like, training with them.
That's smart.
And stuff like that. And then, like, basically the first, spoilers, the first kind of bit ends with all the bad guys of the DC universe kind of being like, so the Justice League is employing kids now. That's dark.
That's child labor, man.
Yeah. And
I thought you were pretty good. I like that. That is some sick shit,
That's
man.
messed up. And I'm Lex Luthor. I know messed up.
Right? Like, who are you to say that's messed up, Lex Luthor? Fuck you fucking asshole. But then again, I mean, you know, you get a character like Lex Luthor, and his whole thing is that he thinks he's doing the world a service by trying to get rid of fucking Superman. Okay, whatever. His view is already warped.
Yeah.
But that is funny. It's a funny little twist. But that's, I mean, again, I liked Teen Titans. Like, this one specifically. It was good. I would definitely read more Teen Titans. I'm not saying I didn't like it by any means.
You definitely should. I would also very highly recommend the Young Justice series.
Fair enough.
Very good.
I can't wrap my head around the concept. And I think that's kind of... As someone, again, who hasn't read an extensive amount of these kind of stories and stuff, you know, I'm getting into this. Jesse's definitely the expert by far. It just, some things, yes, are dismissed by being just, well, they're comic books. I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't live in a comic book. I live in the real world.
Right.
So I relate things to that.
You know what? I mean, to a degree, I see where you're coming from, but... On the other hand, I love these stories. I love these characters. And yeah, you know what? They are young, and maybe that's a little unrealistic. But I enjoy reading and being around these characters so much that I guess for me it's
well, like I said,
it's
kind of like watching your favorite superheroes as kids, right?
Yeah,
they got the same powers, the same skill set. You're watching Superman as a boy, essentially. You're watching...
No, but even then, I think that they have their own unique personalities.
Oh, I'm not saying they don't have their own unique personalities. What I'm saying is that you're getting a different insight into the Justice League characters that you see.
Right.
Right. You're seeing what things could have been like for Clark Kent as a boy. In the case of Superboy, he grew up alone. Like, he's growing up alone. Like, he's being raised by the Kents, which is great.
Now.
Because the Kents are awesome people.
I think he grew up in I think Superboy, because he also had a solo series around the same time as Impulse. So did Tim Drake. But I think Superboy in his solo series, I think he lived at a Cadmus lab in Hawaii.
Okay.
So definitely not a normal upbringing.
No, but
whatsoever.
it could have very easily been a similar upbringing to Superman. I mean, you look at something like the Flashpoint Paradox, right? What happened if Clark's ship had landed in Metropolis?
Well, yeah.
There you go. I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of it's an interesting insight into the main Justice League characters that you see through the eyes of, yes, they're sidekicks, right? Like, Superman wants Connor to kind of be more like him, to grow up to be more like him. Connor's not having it because his experience has been different. You're seeing almost a what if scenario, and I like that. It's giving you a rich character backstory for both Superman and Superboy.
Well, that's the thing, and what I really, really love about this run, and this book, especially as the introduction, is that it's both very continuity heavy. A lot of the relationships are already established. It references a lot of past relationships, like a lot of the Starfire and Robin jokes, because Starfire and Nightwing were a couple. The Deathstroke stuff. It's very continuity heavy, but I think it also did a really good job of being very new reader friendly.
I agree with that. I mean, and as the new reader in this conversation we're having right now, I would definitely agree. I didn't need to know an extensive history of the Titans in the past because it was basically a brand new start to the Titans.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's actually a strength of the book, because then you read this one and you're like, I want to see Deathstroke kill his own son. I want to see, like, the original, like, old school adventure. Like, to me, it intrigued me to make me want to read.
That's fair. So at the end of the day, Jesse, your final thoughts?
I love this book. This is the first comic run that I really, really got into, or one of the first ones anyways. It will always have a very special place in my heart. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 just because I need to leave room to go up when we eventually do the Marv Wolfman George Perez run, because I do rank that one slightly higher. But I love this book.
My final thought is I'd probably go with a 7.5 or 8. I'm a little torn. I mean, again, my issue
is that because of the concept or because of the book itself?
Concept.
Okay.
The book itself, if I'm just going on the book itself, I'd give it probably an 8.
Okay.
It's a really good story. You don't need to know an extensive history of the the characters' backgrounds and stuff to really get into this. It is definitely new reader friendly, and it's interesting because the characters are recognizable because they're the sidekicks of recognizable characters, which is great. I'm gonna go with the 7.5 because the concept. Or 7.5 for the concept, because again, teenagers fighting supervillains is fucking ludicrous.
Tell that to Spider-Man.
I would. I think that's absolutely insane.
One of the most successful comic books of all time, partially because he was a teenager.
But if Spider-Man had a whole group of fucking superheroes who, could bring him into the fold and train him, I would be like, okay, work on that portion and then go out and fight Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
Instead, he just jumps out the window and fights Dr. Octopus.
But
that's insane.
But that's kind of the appeal to these kind of situations. The fact that, sometimes whether you're ready for it or not, life throws curveballs at you and you have to make yourself ready.
And I get that. Again, so concept, I give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Actual content itself, I'd give it an 8 because it is a strong read. It's, like I said, it's very new reader friendly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do want to read more. I mean, these characters, you see their development in just the first book alone.
Well, you recently got a bunch of Teen Titans trades from this run for free.
I did, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, his name is Sean. He's a friend of my wife. My wife's friend. There we go. And he actually, just gave me a whole ton of comic books, and Teen Titans is in there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. There's a shout out for you. And I actually wouldn't mind at some point, we're going to look at having him maybe join us on the show.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. Any other thoughts?
I love this book. I love Impulse.
There
Bart
you go.
Allen for life.
There you go. So that's been this episode of the Comic Asylum.
Yep.
Doing Teen Titans, a kid's game.
Teen Titans, a kid's game.
You can reach us. You can actually download us on iTunes. We're available on there. Just look up the Comic Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
You can tweet at us at the comic_asylum. And you can check out our blog spot where we host all of our podcasts at the comicbookasylum.blogspot.com. I think that's it.
If you say so.
I don't remember. I think that's it. You can find the link on iTunes. So check it out.
Just search harder.
Thanks again.
Yeah. So next week, I think we're doing X-Men.
Yeah, I think
X-Men.
so.
All right.
You're the content guy.
Yeah.
So, do you know which one we're doing specific?
We're going to do all new X-Men.
All new X-Men.
All new X-Men.
Specific start, so our readers...
Volume 1.
There you go. Perfect. There you go, guys. X-Men, New X-Men, Volume 1.
All new X-Men.
All new X-Men.
Yeah.
I've never read it, so there we go. Thanks again.
See you later.